So ProtoPie formulas are very similar to formulas in Excel, or even expressions in After Effects. They're single-line instructions which allow us to manipulate our prototypes dynamically. Now, as you can imagine, having this capability gives us a lot of power to create some truly advanced interactions. Now, ProtoPie formulas manipulate the values of responses. And you're probably used to adding static values to these responses. But with formulas, you can make those values dynamic. So let's have a look and see where we add formulas. So I've got this Py file here, and it's just got a single layer in it, a layer called red rectangle. And over here in the triggers panel, we can see I've got a start trigger and a single move response. So I'm just going to tap on the move response here. And if I tap into the value fields that I've got access to, you can see that within these value fields, there's this FX icon to the right-hand side. So all of these fields can accept formulas. And the FX icon is the button that we press to get to the formula window. So I'm just going to open the formula window up here on the X value. So here we have the formula window where we type in our formulas. So there are several building blocks that we have available to us when using formulas. And I'm just going to show you a few of them so you can start to get an understanding of what they look like and what you can do. So the first one we're going to look at are layer names. So we can access layer names in a couple of ways. The first way is we can just tap this plus button here in the formula window, and that's going to open up this drop down. And you can see here, I can see my red rectangle layer. That's the only layer, as I've said, that I've got in this Py file. If you had lots of layers, you'd see a whole list of layers that you'd have access to here. So I'm just going to choose red rectangle. And when I choose it, you can see it's added it to the formula window. And every single building block that we use inside of the formula window has its own style and formatting. So you'll notice for layer names, they exist in this green box and they're reversed out in black. What you'll also notice are these little, what look like quote marks either side of the layer name. So those aren't quote marks, they're called backticks. And backticks is another way we can access our layer names and add them to the formula window. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to remove this entry here. And I'm going to find my backtick key. So your backtick key tends to be to the right of your left shift key. So if you've got focus in the formula window, and I'm just going to tap that backtick key, you can see that it also opens up the same drop down. And from there, you can see I can choose my red rectangle as I did before. So the next building block that we will look at are layer properties. All objects have properties. The word property is another word for attributes. So you can think of our red rectangle as having physical properties such as width and height. Of course, we have access to a whole lot more properties than that. To access the properties of an object, just come over to your formula window and just after the layer name, type a full stop. This is going to open up the properties drop down, and you can see there's a whole host of properties that we have access to that ProtoPie gives us. In this instance, we're just going to choose the X property here. And again, I just want to draw your attention to the formatting. So for layer properties, we have all the layer properties text in white, with the background being grey. The next property we will look at is math. We can use arithmetic operators in our formulas such as plus, minus, divide, and multiply. For example, let's just add 100 to this current formula. So I'm just going to type the plus icon and I'm going to type the number 100. We have now created a value that will be the rectangle's X value plus 100. So as you can see before, we've also got some color coding here. So we've just got the plus icon in white and we've got the number value in this purple color. So the next building block of formulas that I'm going to show you is text. So I've moved over to scene 2 here, and in scene 2 we've just got this single text layer called label. And over here in the triggers panel, we've got a text response. So if you select the text response and come over to content, make sure you've got formula selected here and just tap into the value field and tap FX to open the formula window. Okay, so to add text within formulas, I need to wrap them in double quotes. So just like you would see text, dialogue text written in a book. So I'm just going to write some text in here. I love ProtoPie formulas because they're amazing. And we can see here that, again, we've got special formatting for text. When you put it in double quotes, it turns into this orange color. So that's how we add text to our formulas. Next, let's talk about variables. So variables are used to save dynamic values that we can use in our prototypes. And ProtoPie comes with 3 types of variables. And I've created the 3 types of variables here in the variables panel. We have number variables, text variables, and color variables for holding hexadecimal values. And we can access these variables from the same place that we access layer properties. So if I come over to my move response that I've got here, tap into this X value field just to open up the formula window, I'm going to hit the plus button like I did before. And you can see, in addition now to our layer name, we now have our 3 variables sitting above. So I'm just going to choose number variable here. So again, the variable building block has its own style and color. So you just add a variable, you can see it's all colored in green and it has no solid background on it at all. So the final building block that we're going to look at in this video are functions. You can think of functions as little computer programs. You enter values into them and they give you back an output. We can view all of the available functions on the ProtoPie website. So let's just switch over and have a look. So ProtoPie comes with many types of functions in the following categories: text, math, color, relative coordinates, layers, and type conversion. To add a function, just type its name. Usually the first character is enough, but you need to know the name of the function to find it. So we're on scene 4 here, and I've just got this text1 layer with just this text ProtoPie formulas in there. And I want to add a function to make the text all uppercase. So I know the name of the function is called uppercase. I'm going to come over to my text response here, open up my formula window. The first thing I need to do is add a reference to the text. So because it's a text layer, I want to use that text property. So I'm just hit the plus button here, choose the layer name text1, type a full stop, find the text property. So we've now got the value of the text property, and I need to wrap this property inside of my function. So to add the function, I'm just going to put my cursor right at the beginning, and I'm just going to start typing uppercase. I'm going to type the letter U, and you can see instantly that uppercase is the only function that begins with the letter U. So there's only one item in the list. If you had more items starting with this letter, you'd get a whole list of them. But that's all I need to type. I can just now select uppercase from the drop down. And you'll notice the grammar of uppercase is slightly different. So it's similar to variables in the sense that it's the same green color, but it's got these 2 brackets at the end. And it's within these brackets that we have to add our value. So this is our whole value here. So the text1.text. So I'm just going to select all of that. I'm going to cut that. I'm going to place my cursor in between the brackets. I'm just going to paste my value inside of there. So now we have the correct way of writing and applying a function. We've got the key, what we call the keyword, the name of the function, and we've got our value sitting inside of the brackets. Okay, so these are just some of the formula building blocks that we have access to, but you should now have a pretty good idea of what formulas are. Using formulas enables us to use more dynamic values in our prototypes. Having values that are more dynamic means that we can react to user input within our prototype in a more realistic way. Here we've just scraped the surface of how to write formulas. Next, we'll dive more deeply into each building block, using some simple examples to help us get familiar with their grammar and how to write them.